All right, our team did a massive research all going over some of the fastest growing companies and how they cracked their enterprise accounts. It was surprising to see how these companies land massive enterprise accounts when others struggle. When we actually looked under the hood, we found that it boiled down to a few lessons. And in this episode, we're going to break down those lessons. We published this research internally so that we don't have to make these costly mistakes. So if you're trying to get your first set of enterprise customers as fast as possible without the battle scars, this episode has a defined playbook that you can deploy immediately.
All right, Shaunak, can you elaborate on the top challenges people face with selling to enterprises?
Yeah, so when we did this study in terms of understanding how some of the companies are cracking, even at the early stage, the enterprise deals, what we found the top challenges were a very long sales cycle. What I understood from one of the companies that are selling to US financial services, they needed 198 touch points, spent almost spread across a year.
Oh,
This includes email. This includes follow-up, this includes calls, this includes all the things that are there, and proposal submission, objection handling, everything. They were like massive. So it's a very long sales cycle. The second point is, in most of the cases, the sales funnel involves a lot of decision makers, and they have diverse KPIs. Finance will only think about their finance goals, like how much is the ROI, whereas the user will think about how fast is the interface. Whereas versus the business unit head will think that how it can help my goals, my KPIs. He might not be interested about a dashboard, how many dashboards you have or how quickly you can upload the data. Is like, okay, overall. So balancing this becomes very challenging. So that's a problem. The third thing is very high stake and expectation, because people can lose job if in enterprise you bring something. It's also a point of shame, because you have, as a VP, if you bring someone who wastes 6 months of your team's time and then you have to let go of that vendor, you also have peers who are competing with you for the next role, next promotion, that will go and backfire. So enterprises, even some of the cases, the juicy discounts, everything don't work, because people care about their job safety and so on.
Yeah, there's a saying, nobody got fired for getting IBM.
Exactly. This exactly talks to the same point. I think the fourth point is intense competition. There's a lot of money to be made at an enterprise level, long contracts, 2 years contract, 3 years contract. So it's a juicy deal for everybody. So you will be competing hard on many competitors. So together, this makes enterprise sales very hard.
Enterprise sales does sound very challenging. Shaunak, I'm now even more curious. How do people approach it? Like, any notes on that?
Yeah, so this is collectively from my background working in Microsoft and collecting a lot of data from the field notes, from the community, from the Slack channel, some of the things that don't get discussed in public forum, some of the things that cannot be Googled. We collected this, and I'm going to share a couple of the big lessons that we collected. So the first lesson is enterprise sales require a big narrative, which is quite different than widget selling. Widget selling is, for maybe in an SMB case, you come with a specific Chrome extension, which does A. Okay, or maybe it's a specific tool which just helps you do A, B, C. So that's kind of good for SMBs. But in enterprise, most of the case, you got to have a big narrative is what we gathered. For example, let's take an example of enterprise. Okay. So if you guys are selling product management, a tool around product management, it could be positioned as a widget that this product helps you create report. So which is like a widget. The narrative could be that we help you become more customer centric. Now, customer centricity is a very big theme. Okay, this comes in annual report. CEOs talk about it. Okay, so that's the big narrative. And then you tie it back to the tool or the product that you are selling. So there has to be a big narrative around that. We help you become more customer centric. And then the tool comes. So there should be some big narrative. And that's where now the question becomes, how do you create this big narrative? And I remember in Microsoft, we used to have this thing called workshop, which used to call Imagine If workshop. It's like forward-looking workshop where you actually show what it means to be very customer-centric. How do you build product like a say Canva or a Notion? Okay, because you actually look into customers' feedback and take that, and then this is how become a customer-first company. So that's the Imagine If, and then you talk about the tool. So that's a real tool that you can use. The second is a maturity map. Maturity map is a way to basically pinch the decision maker to think that they have to buy this product. And the way you do it is by very simple, you compare it with their competitors. So all the competitors of Canva or somebody who is aspiring to be like a Canva, or for that matter, a big company like Infosys, Wipro, you can take their competitors, all the characteristics, and then map it to their specific position and use it on maturity maps and just show that, okay, you are less mature in voice of customer. The other company is more mature in voice of customer. And that thing creates some sort of a stark contrast. And because it is done with a lot of data, a lot of like graphs and charts and so on, and you literally, so that there is no automation for you to get the customer in real time. So you score less, your competitors score more. There is a way for them to harness that and make it to PRD. You guys are not there, they are having, and then eventually their score is 7, your score is probably 5, then you need to do something. So maturity model is another way to say that, and that's what we figured out from our research.
So Shaunak, I'm also curious about there are a lot of stakeholders in enterprises that I've heard things about, okay, there are like at least 5 personas: economic buyer, actual user, executive sponsor, or the budget holder, etc. Could you walk us through a bit more about stakeholder management in enterprise sales?
Yes, which brings us to the second lesson, which is about stakeholder management. So just to cut to the chase, there are basically 5 to 6 to 7 set of decision makers that you have to convince. So the first one will be the business team. They are your main users. For say, let's take an interpret case. It will be the product management team. They are the guys who are going to use it. Okay. Now you got to have all your features for the business users. They are going to get the benefit of the reports. They are going to get the benefits of the ingestion engine. They're going to benefit of all the integrations. Now the next set of people you have to please are the IT decision makers. Okay. Now they are like, I don't care too much about all the fancy widgets and the dashboard. All I care about, are you guys this certified? Do you guys have a specific compliance? Do you guys store your data in our geography? And do you guys have a specific set of as a single sign-on and all these things? Okay, so for them, those are like the check boxes, and you got to have these in your kitty too. The next set of people that you have to focus on is the InfoSec people who are there to have the security things. And for the best way to get is just the security certifications done. And then it's like you show them the security certificates and they're like, okay, we are all sorted. We have all the certifications. I think the next one that comes is the legal team. Okay, now legal team will have a lot of the contractual agreements, specifically in the financial sectors. There's a lot of legal nuances that needs to be sorted. And that is another team for which you need to have some interaction with them and figure out that they are happy. And finally, the procurement team who will negotiate the cost. So as I mentioned, that cost may not be the factor for the decision, the business owner, but cost will be the factor for the procurement team, because procurement team is evaluated on the cost. So they write in their appraisal that in this deal, we saved this much of amount. Okay, we chose this vendor because we could get this much money back to companies, a cash flow. So that's where you have to make them that all the discounts and okay, we are enterprise, we'll give you 3 years deal, hence give us 40% discount, 30% discount, whatever. That negotiation happens with the procurement team. So these will be kind of the top segments. And as I mentioned, that you have to cross through all the hoops to get to the final mark.
A couple of my friends were working in SaaS, they were sharing on the stakeholder management piece. Like everybody has so many unusual and different demands. Like some of these Fortune 500s, they would sometimes ask you to be a co-insurer in your company's insurance. So I was surprised to hear him say that. And yeah, stakeholder management is very difficult to what you alluded to earlier. Great. So Shaunak, something we all struggle with is, getting in front of those enterprise sales deals, like getting in front of the people. So how do you get into those accounts? How do you get those meetings with enterprises?
Yeah. So what we figured out from the studies that the traditional funnel of you send some cold email and a person will come to your call, demo call, and then eventually he will get closed through that process is not going to happen for enterprise. It's very difficult to go that route. So consistently what we heard is that building relationships to get in front of the right decision maker works. So in these cases, events or some sort of introduction from a network, from alumni, advisors always help. So the pro tip that we got was that try to get in front of them through some refer, because the volume is not huge. You're not like going to close 200 SMBs or like something of that volume. You can actually take of a very targeted approach. So that's where relationships help. Second is identifying some champions inside client organization who probably have some exposure to your content or to your company's events or company's product. That champion may not be a decision maker, could be someone who can actually position you inside the company, and using that as a gateway. That is another path. A lot of people have taken that route. And the third one, surprisingly, industry benchmark reports. Okay, that's another way to get in front of them, like the Forrester and the Gartners of the world. If you are there, that's where you get noticed. That's a clear way of being in front of the audience. Also, it brings certain amount of trust because it's like the vetting process is being already done by independent analysts at probably all the top firms. So that's why you see a lot of companies are heavily investing in terms of having the analyst relation and getting them in front of in the right reports.
Great. And how do we deal with the competition in this space?
Yeah. So for enterprise, the one of the biggest hurdle is RFP. Okay, so RFP in simple terms is they will ask you to reply to one of the proposal that they will float. It's like a form that you have to fill up, and then you have to, and based on that they will be evaluating all the vendors. So that's how RFPs work. Now, one of the non-obvious ways that we found working is that most of the people think that, okay, there will be an RFP, I'll respond to the RFP. So RFP will have some question and I'm going to write very well all my details and so on and so on. What we found in the most of the companies who are absolutely at the top of their game, they do not even care about the RFP response. They work to write the RFP with the team. So they are so ahead of the curve. So they literally work with the team inside the org to create the RFP. Now, once you are helping somebody create the RFP, of course, the RFP will be, the questions and the evaluation criteria will be aligned towards your feature and so on. That's how you're justifying and so on and so forth. Now, sometimes the procurement team also do not have bandwidth to write one more RFP for the product management and for CRM and for so many. They don't know about so many fields, right? So they'll probably partner with one of the product management team, which will come and help them. Okay, these are the good criteria. And if you can figure out a way to write the RFP, that would be that's a great starting point. Okay, so we kept hearing that pen the partnership, not just a proposal, try to co-write the RFP and help the buying team create actually the RFP, but that's not very easy. Okay, so that's one of the lesser understood technique that we found in our study. And the final lesson that we learned was effective tracking of the entire sales process. So essentially, this sales process is not SDR sending an account to an AE and an AE working for a couple of days to close it. It's a big project management. It's like a complete project in itself. So you literally have to manage it as a delivery project, right? I mean, stakeholders, who needs what, and then what is the timeline, and so on. It's like a service company delivering a project. Okay, so the sales becomes that. Like, if you think of it, like if it's a 1 year long sales cycle, you have to manage it like a 1 year long delivery project, right? So that was something which was eye opening for me. It's like a real project management in itself. Sometimes there are POCs, sometimes solution engineering comes, and so on and so forth. So it becomes a massive project, and that needs to be tracked. Yeah, so these were the lessons that we learned from the field notes, studying many companies who are at absolutely the top of their game and working in the enterprise side.